Brittany, thank you. Former President Donald Trump also addressing the unrest on college campuses during a rally a short time ago in Waukesha.
This is his second visit to Wisconsin this year, heading into the November election. Jason Zimmerman watched it unfold. He's live in the studio with Your Voice, Your Vote coverage. Jason.
Cami, the former president did not mention UW-Madison specifically, but did call out those protesting, especially at Columbia University, while thanking law enforcement for stepping in to restore order over the past 24 hours. Trump also accused President Biden of not showing strong enough support for Israel in its war with Hamas, and organizers behind the protesting of being paid. In the case of Columbia, he said the scene last night was beautiful to watch and commended New York City police for restoring order in just 2 hours. In recent days, Republicans have accused some university administrators of turning a blind eye to anti-Semitic rhetoric and harassment.
But when you see that video of raging lunatics and Hamas sympathizers at Columbia and other colleges, no, but when you look at it, I say, where did these people come from? I don't know people like that. I mean, I deal with a lot of people. Where do they come from?
Trump held his rally today as his criminal trial takes a break in New York City, where he's accused of falsifying business records concerning a hush money payment to a porn star. Right now, polls show a tight race between Trump and President Biden here in Wisconsin. Bill.
Jason, thank you. Wisconsin Democrats holding a special press conference in response to the former president's visit. Among many topics discussed, Democrats shared sentiments on the ongoing pro-Palestinian rallies nationwide, specifically regarding the safety of students.
People have the right to protest, but also people have the right to be safe on campus. And so we want to make sure that it's an and, not an or, and that we're going to be supporting anybody that wants to be able to protest on campus safely and peacefully.
Democrats also lambasted former President Donald Trump during the conference, specifically on his views on abortion and immigration.